What are you saying?
I'm sorry, but I don't want to be confused, sir. I've listened to your lordship's eloquent judgment.
Sorry, please, Leonard Senior. You don't have to interrupt judgment. We are delivering judgment and we are still on. Please leave the judgment where it is.
My lord, I'm very sorry, sir.
If you are confused, when you get the judgment, you read it.
No, my lord, I'm not confused at all.
Okay, then please
I'm making a suggestion.
You don't have to suggest to us how to deliver judgment.
I'm sorry.
So you seriously think that all five of us wouldn't know that?
My lord,
wouldn't know what you want to do?
I apologize. I apologize.
My country people, this video is well packaged. I don't bring evidence from left and right to bring out together and the recommendation to the way out of this problem what we did. So concerning this wayo what they do for broad daylight, this school where they do we pass Niger on and we pass Gabon after on. Over 12 hours judgment. Wait there for just send, give us for WhatsApp, for Facebook, more go read by ourselves. After 12 hours, we'll take a look television. This one might be the reason when they talk, say, Obi and Atiku, they scrape their case, say they don't win. The first one I be say, they say, INEC is independent, so therefore, chooses the method of transmission of results. Evidence by Peter Obi didn't prove he won the presidential election. Double nomination case against Shettima is incompetent. Double nationality case against President Tinubu dismissed. Resident in Abuja, no special. 25% in FCT not necessary to become president. Evidence by Peter Obi didn't prove he won the presidential election. My people, it shows that these people work for their money where to the extent people were tired. Some people open their mouth down. Some call they on. Some they are weak for. Some they call they snow. Different thing happen for court that day. In fact, my people, this is not ordinary. In fact, when they hear say what APC cannot do does not exist. For the judges, they say the terminology when they call they use, they be like they don't go school. In fact, the kind of word will come out from their mouth. He no just berate them at all. He no even classify as they be judges at all. This is what most people are complaining about. Say the judges they not even reach. My people who do us, our village people too much. The judges were abusive. They were very arrogant. They were talking anyhow. They just be like people, they just prepare cons. Say if anybody just talk to them, they just talk anyhow. This is not ordinary, my people. The Bible says that the weapons of our warfare are not but they are mighty through the pulling down of every strongholds. Wait till make these people they sleep. Now be the question where you need to ask yourself. Where Labour Party don't see and say this case not be ordinary. In fact, the strong parts where they tell look how now they can't talk say they reject the judgment and they can't talk say they go move the case, go meet the Supreme Courts. And a lot of people they tell them say me they all relax, me they not do them. There is no as need. Our people go talk. It not feel possible. Tortoise not go fit get hard back. Make it pikin can't get a tiny fingernail. It not feel possible. You know why? Because whether judiciary, whether tribunal, whether Supreme Court, or they be win speaking. In midst of this kata, now this guy where they call Sheilo can come and say, I have said it before, and I will say it again, that Peter Obi knows that he did not win the election. He knows he only wanted Tinubu disqualified because he thinks he has a better chance of winning a rerun with Atiku. After the judgment, now dear Bola Ahmed Tinubu can send message, give Nigerians, say they do well, say they still retain them, say he not go disappoint them, say he no say he go win, say because the tribunal, they are just and fair, say they give the proper verdict. Simona just hold on, there are more evidence I'm bringing, they blast them one by one. Tinubu can begin dance so where it day for India. May show now the video.
We shall stand on your mandate, follow on your mandate, follow on your mandate. We shall stand on your mandate. We shall stand on your mandate. We shall stand on your mandate, follow on your mandate, on your mandate. We shall stand.
people, before I begin to give una the bad news, make I give una the good news. I'll carry the bad one away, not good. All the people they talk way, enter my ear. I'll put them for the end of the video. When I feel like, when I feel watch and read that end. But the one we be say is sweet me. Tony Killer talk and Maxwell talk. Now one show now. The one way Robert Clark talk. I want other two person. I will put them for the end. Not like when I watch them. Not like when I not watch them. Because if I when me they watch them, I they verse. So the first 3 video I want bring come. I will make sure so I watch and reach the end. The remaining one where I want put for the end. Now like when I watch them because me say they watch as I talk before. I hear the verse. I'm not carry the one booby. You like me I hear they slap them. Make I all carry one of them. I all begin the they give her blue. Every sort of Bod TV boy. They analyze all the trends in the output. My people, correct SARS. I hail una area. When I like, when I share, when I like the video, thank you.
Help us, understand your thoughts on the length of time that this has taken, and of course the judgment day itself, quite unwieldy. What are your thoughts?
Oh, well, good evening. Good to be here. So, I mean, let's start from the judgment itself. It's a very technical judgment. When I say very technical, not intensely or complicatedly technical. I mean, it's more technical than substance, you know, which is the kind of thing you see in these cases. One thing to take away from the pronouncement of their lordship, you know, the key pronouncement is that it tells me that our judicial system needs a big overhaul. Part of the pronouncement shows the lawyers as unprepared. How can you go to a case like this and they're saying things like, you do not have merit in the case, you didn't have local standings, you did not, I mean, there's some basic errors that the legal practitioners have committed that really should make the bar to think very much about preparation and professionality. Then we go to the bench. There's no other way to put it, but really, the process, so we've talked about the output, the process in which these judges held Nigerians or those interested for close to 12 hours in court to follow this is, to say the least, ridiculous. It is anachronistic, and it just shows a very big not disconnection with reality of our time. It is enough for them in less than 1 hour to deliver that judgment by saying this petition is rejected or this decision is accepted. 1 paragraph to explain why, and immediately for them to give the lawyers copies of their judgment to read and the rest of the world PDF documents to download online. They do not need to hold the whole world 12 hours to hear them read what they wrote. And let me say this in a polite way as I can. Some of them were even reading what they wrote as if they were not the one that read it, that wrote it. They could not pronounce the names properly. Their voices were so boring that a lot of people were falling asleep in court and outside court. I do think we need to look at these little things so that our judiciary can stand as a point that not only guarantees justice, but inspires people. Those of us who have studied law, let alone those who have practiced the law, you want to be inspired by judges. They tend to be people of authority, people who are practical, people who are independent, and people who are knowledgeable. But what we see today between the bar and the bench, allow me to say that it does not inspire people. Sleeping lawyers and sleeping and soniferous judges. A process so long, and that is about the process. I focus on the process because that is what set precedence. In terms of the outcome, is what we've seen, rather technical. But I blame more the bar than the bench on this. I think that somebody needs to tell lawyers that if they go to court with cases that can be dismissed on very predictable technicalities like this, there is something wrong in their preparation.
Well, if you say there's something wrong with the preparation, what do we really also need to look into the provisions of the law so as to understand why certain technicalities really matter in a situation like this, at least for the sake of the layman?
Oh, well, yeah, we need to look at it. I mean, when you look at when we're formulating the law, and we need to look at when we're formulating the process for justice. At some point, we need to decide, and, you know, it's nothing new. We need to decide that substance needs to trump form at all times. We need to know that the law should not be bigger than justice in whatever we do. That justice shall be bigger than law. And we need to practice in a way. But you say, I go back to the bar. The bar needs to understand how justice works. They need to be very conscious of how their lordship act and how they reason. So that when you go to court, what you need to do is not only understand how the justice how the process works, you need to think of the people judging you, read about how they've judged other cases in the past, understand their mindset on how they judge things, understand the tradition of the bench, as we say. If you are a practitioner, if you're a legal practitioner that travels across courts, whether in your state or city or across the country, every time you go to a court, you have to adapt your case to that judge you have in front of you, to the bench you have in front of you. And I think it is important for those who are on the bar to tailor their cases to what they're likely to meet, to understand it very well. That's preparation. For the rest of us, you're right. The layman, the citizen, wants justice. The law is the route to justice. It is the duty of the bench and the bar to make sure at all times that law and justice are synced, that you do not lose justice because of law, and justice does not trump upon the law. That is the duty we all have as a people. And above all, leaders should be honest with their followers on what the situation is at all times.
Having heard the judgment today, and then with the calls that there should be tinkering with our legal frameworks, where do you think we need to buck up?
Well, I still encourage the parties, Labour Party, PDP, and their presidential candidates to approach Supreme Court, because Supreme Court is a policy-making court. Whatever decision Supreme Court pronouncement form parts of our law. Now, having said that, there is every urgent need for us, for the executive or the civil society group to approach National Assembly, the need to amend our electoral law. This issue of you have few days within which to gather your evidence and approach court, and whatever thing that you have filed, you cannot amend. The thing works against the principle of fair hearing. And I participated partially in this election petition, whatever. And I discovered that one of the challenges they have is getting witnesses, getting evidence. Before you gather them, time was running. So that affected that. Then secondly, I also urge my fellow Nigerians to keep calm. Just like you don't start attacking people. Let us look at the fundamentals. Just like our own Justice Mary Odley, he just advised people, advised Nigerians, look at, don't put on the roof. And people now, on my own, I'm calling it transfer of aggression, because Nigerians, they are already annoyed. And when you make comments and as if you are trying to praise or
tell to one side,
you know what I'm saying? They don't want to know what you're even saying. They started attacking you. Because if you watch someone like Mary Odley, he has been attacked by APC government in her house there in Maitama. Now, the same APC government, he was telling them that if you are not declared winner, channel your grievances through the legal process. Don't put on the roof. And we are saying that he was praising Olani Beko and the Attorney General, that they have done well in election page. Of course, I'm a lawyer. Whether you like it or not, Olani Beko is very good when it comes to election petition.
Yeah,
he has done matters for PDP. Right. He has done for APC. Likewise, the Attorney General. So, and he is Olani Beko handed over to her as the chairman body of benchers. You don't expect her to make comments without at least recognizing her former boss in the body of bencher. So that is the area we are looking at it. So in all, we are asking Nigerians, the Labour Party and their candidate PDP, and they still have one other order, that is Supreme Court. And lucky enough, the lawyer to Labour Party said he has a firm decision from his client, that is P2B, and the Labour Party to approach Supreme Court. So let us watch what will happen.
All right, though we're already getting advice that they should just, let it be at this point so that Nigerians can move on. But let's talk about how all of this case, will change the face of Nigeria's electoral jurisprudence.
Of course, you see, a lot of issues came up. This issue of, because when you're talking about subpoena, a subpoena witness is a witness of the court, not a witness of the plaintiff, neither is the witness of the defendant. It's a witness of the court. So the presumption is that the court brought the subpoena in court. So, but now, putting it side by side with election petition and our own normal court, so that is a different argument altogether. Because once the Court of Appeal, or the division, has already given a judgment on that, saying that a subpoena witness and the statement made by a subpoena should not be front-loaded. But now, some people are now saying that is a different issue. So we have a conflicting judgment.
Help us understand this so that we
now,
don't
what do I mean by
lose you there. Yeah, because the question is how this case, as far as Chief Robert Clark is concerned, he says this is the best judgment that he's heard in his lifetime. The Labour Party Council says, look, this will do a lot of damage to electoral jurisprudence in Nigeria. I'm
saying this thing with due respect to Chief Clark. Right. He cannot say that this is the best judgment, because that judgment, when you have the compendium of the judgment and start revealing it, you will see they are human beings, for Christ's sake. And don't be surprised that if this matter travels to Supreme Court may fault some of the comments and some of the decisions. So you cannot say that this is the best judgment to his own view. So this is a judgment that was just given. Just like your last guest said, people have not been able to digest, because on my own, most of the times, while they are reading to move out, to come back, when you have the judgment in its entirety and read the judgment and reveal it paragraph by paragraph, pages by pages, you'll be able to make your own summary comment on it. Yeah. So coming to tell us that this is the best judgment, if you should ask me, I'm saying with due respect, he's speaking from a biased perspective.
No, don't even let's say it's speaking. Hang on, if you hold on, if you hold on,
to my own analysis,
I understand. But if you hold on a little, yes. Chief Clark has just told us what he feels about the judgment. Yes. You have the absolute right also to tell us what you feel. In any case, what we need you to make us understand now is how this judgment today will foster the citizens' confidence in the judiciary.
No, if you watch the entire environment, the entire country, it's just like the day this president was declared winner. Everywhere is calm. Nobody's happy. Majority of Nigerians are not happy. That is the naked truth. Because one, people felt that majority of Nigerians are not lawyers. I can understand it from the angle that this is something you're supposed to do. Majority of Nigerians don't know what to call pleadings. Majority of Nigerians are seeing it from the angle that this guy did not meet 25%. This person has been accused of issue of drug. This person, he lost in Lagos, he lost in this place. It was rigged, the election was rigged in Imo State, in Rivers, in Lagos, and in some other places. So they felt that judiciary will be able to say, no, you did not meet the 25%. No, there are discrepancies in your name, in your age, in whatever thing. So now that you have relied on issue of technicality, which I can understand as a lawyer, the person who is selling Ogo in Karimu market may not understand. So they will give it a different interpretation. So we need to talk to them. We need to, using media, using other avenues to talk to them, because Nigerians, they are not happy. That was the reason why when I started, I said, somebody like Justice Mary Odele that have served this country in various capacity, that have given I'm a lawyer, I have read most of her judgment, and people started attacking because he gave advice. Nigerians don't want to hear that such an advice. Right. So that is what we are saying.
Let's talk about the issue of specificity that the tribunal stressed on, whether in the case of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, and the PDP, that they were not able to say specifically. This was how, say for example, the issue of rigging at some polling stations or violence or whatever. How did it affect, you as a party in so-so polling units? What number of votes did it deny you of? And all of those. Specificity, how important really is it in helping the, the petitioners with their case?
I think it's a guy the issue in one of his judgments said that the court is a court of law, but the day never come when it will cease to be a court of justice. What is justice? The parties apply to INEC, telling INEC, allow us to have access to the documents and the reports which you used to conduct an election. They refused. They reported to the tribunal, to the panel, and nothing was done about it. So even the one they gave them, most of them were blank. So now, these particular issues, most of the times, courts, when you are reading the likes of Oputa, Nemeka JSC, and I follow them, they will raise issues like you have the power to make rules on how to conduct an election, and you may also make rules that the result will be transmitted from polling booth electronically. Now, the question there is that they will raise the issue. What to stop the umpire from using that particular, transmitting the result? Why should you transmit that of House of Rep, Senate, and fail to transmit that of presidential? They will now, you will now see, based on this, we come to irresistible position that they will now give their judgment. But this period, with due respect, everybody has his own style of giving judgment. So all those issues are the issues which the lawyers to the petitioners felt that the panel did not address, and which is going to form their grounds of going on appeal.
So in other words, what the tribunal was trying to say was that, look, he who alleges must prove.
How do you prove?
And as far as Labour Party and PDP are concerned,
probably something
they're
I
not
used to
able
prove
to
it, you
prove their
have it.
case.
Give it to me, you refuse to give it to me.
Going by all the arguments that the presidential election petition judges made while withdrawing the petition of the Labour Party, it means that to prove an election malpractice or rigging in an election as wide as a presidential election will be impossible. Because looking at all the documents, they are saying that they must tender in evidence. That means that the 21 days allowed for someone to file a petition immediately the results are announced, that person can't even compile all the evidence. Yes, we have more than 177,000 polling units in Nigeria. So imagine the kind of work a petitioner is expected to make. Because when you compare how massive the rigging was during the election, imagine someone trying to prove that there were malpractices in about 100,000 polling units. Let's even say 50,000 polling units. The judges are expecting the petitioners to tender all these polling units one by one, prove them, even as far as calling witnesses in any of these polling units. Is not practicable. It's a flawed system that does not reward good deeds. If you're a nice person, if you're a gentleman and truthful and obey the laws, the system is stacked against the person. That's what it means. Going by the rulings they made today, that means they are rewarding people who are aggressive, lawless, people who can go to any length to acquire power. So it's just disappointing that the law failed Nigerians today. And when people openly call for a military coup, it means there's a problem. There is a huge sense of injustice. There's also a huge sense of miscarriage of justice today. Imagine a judge using words like fallacious, ridiculous, nullity, and many other words that he used to describe the Labour Party's and PDP's petition. He sounded very much like Wule Olanipeku and the defendants. If you watched all the proceedings when they made their arguments, they were openly threatening the petitioners and even the judges. He very much sounded like them today. On the other hand, the judgment they delivered today can be best described by these words he used. They practically rewrote Nigeria's constitution. Imagine saying that the FCT is equivalent to another state in Nigeria. Going by that logic, that means that every candidate must score 25% of the total votes in all the states, including FCT. Because no state should be different from the other. Yes, going by their argument that no state should be special, that FCT is not special, that means a candidate must score 25% in every state in order to make everyone equal. Since they are trying to ascribe a special status to Abuja, And they are saying no, it shouldn't be so, that it shouldn't have a special status. That means 25% must be scored everywhere to give everyone equal status. Yes, that's the logic. But it's very obvious that this is not the intention of the drafters. The English is in plain language. The greatest proof is the fact that it's not required to score 25% of the total votes in FCT in the second runoff election. It is also very surprising that the justices held that double nomination or invalid nomination of Tinubu cannot disqualify a candidate, that it is not among the conditions listed on Section 131 of the 1999 Constitution. It depends on how they made their own interpretation, but when you look at Section 131C, you will see where it says sponsored by a political party. So if one proves that the candidacy of a contestant in a presidential election was invalid as at the time he contested the election, that means he wasn't sponsored by a political party. These lines are written in English. Why are these people twisting it to suit a particular narrative? It's a very disappointing outcome considering the impact of this presidential election. How can the judges discountenance all the evidence? Imagine expunging 10 witnesses from Labour Party's entire 13 witnesses because they didn't file them early, that their witness statement was not front-loaded with the petition. Also, it doesn't make sense that INEC will just create IREV for the citizens without needing it. If it's truly not a part of the collation system, why did INEC create the IREV in the first place? They are trying to say that there's nowhere in the Constitution or electoral law that it mentions that results must be uploaded, whether in figure form or snapping of the result sheets themselves. The regulation the judge cited, Regulation 92 of the INEC guidelines, looking at these sections, you will see that it is talking about collated results, not polling unit results. INEC guidelines says that they should snap the polling unit result sheet with the BVAS machine and upload it to the IREV immediately after vote counting. That's what their guideline says. But the judge read a section that talked about collated results. Polling unit results are not collated. It is polling unit results that will go to the Ward Collation Center where the collation will be done for that ward before they move to the next collation center, which is the local government collation center, before they get to the state and up to Abuja. So it's very strange that the judges, instead of talking about polling unit results, they now moved it to collated results, thereby making polling unit results irrelevant. The essence of the IREV is to upload the results there so that they can protect the integrity of the votes. Because before getting to the collation center, anything can happen to the results. It was created to preserve that integrity of the will of the people. But now the judges have joined the politicians. Remember, the APC people claimed this immediately after the election, that IREV was not needed, that they went to the next collation center and collected the results, which was exactly what they said in court. Yes, and the judges now have joined them and said, yes, it's true, that IREV was just created for citizens to observe the results. It sounds very, very strange. Why will INEC waste money to maintain IREV just for people to observe? The court is saying that IREV is not part of a collation system. Yes, nobody is arguing that they need to transmit the figures, like punching the figures to INEC collation center. Nobody is arguing that. They are just saying that you have to snap that physical copy, upload it, so that the collation agent will verify the hard copy you bring to a collation center. It's as simple as that. Another strange argument the judges made today was when they were referring to the number of witnesses the petitioners called, that they only called, was it 2 or 3 witnesses that were actually from polling units. But the law specifically says in Section 137 that it is not necessary to call oral witnesses when you are dealing with certified true copies, which was exactly what the petitioners relied on. All the documents they brought to court were certified by INEC. So no need calling oral witnesses according to the law. It is there in the section, but why did they now throw everything away? It's very evident that they went fishing for technicalities just to free Tinubu from all the baggages. Look at all the acrobatics. They turned the law upside down just to exonerate one man. How can the judges rely on procedural errors to withdraw the petition? This is very strange.
In this battle for the survival of the nation, in this grand symphony of democracy, your voice, your vote is the note that cannot be silent. But even in this our moment of triumph, we are not going to be triumphalists. We'll work for the unity of this nation. Democracy, as you all know, is not a destination but a journey. It tests us, it tests our resolve, our intent, our commitment to be the custodians of the will of the people. My principal, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is eternally indebted to the Nigerian people and to the leadership of the party who have been here since 9 a.m. Our governors, our energetic chairman and national secretary of the party, members of the National Assembly, they have been here, ministers. So words cannot adequately convey our depth of gratitude to the Nigerian people. My principal will issue a formal statement, but we feel compelled to talk to you, having spent nearly 14, 15 hours in these chambers. There is the dignity of every person that we need to honor and cherish. I want to thank you. The journey is just beginning. I want to call on Nigerians, let's unite. What binds us together surpasses whatever that divides us. Let's unite as a people and face our common challenges. As I have always said, the trajectory of global growth is facing Africa and Nigeria, the greatest black nation on earth, will make or mar that transition. We have had a very long day, but a very good day. My principal is extremely elated, and he asked me to convey his gratitude to our leaders and to the Nigerian people and to the Nigerian media who have been here all day long. The journey is just beginning.
Well, I don't know where he learned his jurisprudence from, but I can assure you that is a fallen man's tale. These two judgments I have had today are the two best judgments I think this country has ever had. It is a good thing that these two judgments today are being broadcast live so that you and I and those who are not knowledgeable in the law will understand what is at stake in this country. The two judgments have greatly enriched, despite and in spite, and whatever the Labour Party might say, has enriched the jurisprudence of this country. And I can tell you that I can boast of learning tonight what I normally teach my young lawyers, that you win or lose your case on your pleadings. The two judgments today, especially Atiku's case, shows you that pleadings were the cause of the loss of Atiku's case. Their pleadings were rough, their pleadings were inadequate, and the court really, really trashed all of them down on their pleadings. And none of the evidence, manipulated or not manipulated, were unable to enter the records of the court because they lost on their pleadings. So this is a good lesson to young lawyers, that you win or lose your case on your pleadings. Atiku's case was lost on his pleadings. And I also learned from Atiku's case also that the law that says INEC will always enjoy the privilege of the Evidence Act and the presumption that whatever is done is regarded as correct. Look at how that section in Abuja was treated. The court said, look, despite and in spite of the fact that INEC has declared Tinubu winner by virtue of 25% of the 37 states in the Federation. You, Atiku says he never won 25% states in Abuja, and therefore cannot merit that declaration by INEC. But the court said, look, INEC has made it, and by that presumption of correctness on whatever INEC says, you yourself, you have failed woefully to bring any evidence to us that Tinubu never had 25% of Abuja. You are asking us to declare him on the statute level or what? You said he never scored 25%. Where is the evidence to prove the negative of what INEC says? So you can see that pleadings is very important. And these are standard cases that one will always learn from. From the other case of Obi's case, Obi never looked at the circumstances that even if he won this petition today, he cannot be the runner-up. It will still be Atiku versus Tinubu, because Obi never scored 25%. Atiku scored 25% of the 35 states. So if there's going to be a rerun according to the law, it is Atiku and Atiku and Tinubu,
right,
who will have contested amongst themselves. Therefore, if one listens to this judgment as a lawyer who is ready to learn and who is not depending on facts from which side or not, will learn a lot. I have discovered also that opening these cases, especially these political shakes, to be aired publicly on television, will have made many ignorant people who are biased by political reasonings to have thought otherwise from all propaganda they will have been hearing about this election. The local media and the fake media have gone so strong in this country today that it is difficult to erase any thought, or I wouldn't say, but fortunately, any body of intellect who listens to this judgment will have seen the facts as decided. I am very grateful that we are moving forward in a way that the courts will be aired live like this, so that many people who have not been able to decipher from political jingoism will be able to realize where the element of truth is lying. This is a fantastic judgment. I like it. It goes deep into the facts and goes deep into the law. In the labor case, it went into a stage that law was able to claim the greater part of the success of Tinubu. Most of the allegations made against him were not proved, and the court was able to show this, that despite and in spite of the allegations of fraud leveled against him, against the allegations of having got to prison, the facts have been very well cleared amongst many Nigerians who, through this situation, will have seen the truth. Also, the question of the 2/5 of Abuja also showed that Nigeria was not built on technicalities of law. Nigeria was derived and built on justice, fair play, and the court today emphasized that fact, that in deciding matters regarding statutes in the Constitution, one has to be careful to be sure.
Very much on this.
Paragraphs have been inserted in various districts of the Constitution. Consideration must be given for the welfare of the people and for the social cohesion of this country. This judgment, as far as I'm concerned, has dealt with all the matter raised by all parties and has been taken care of by the panel of judges in such a way that a layman who is not a lawyer,
but
can is literate and
understand.
listening to those two judgments, will know where the facts are, where the law is.
Very much, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Chief Robert Clark, let me button right there. Thank you very much indeed, Chief Robert Clark. We appreciate your submission tonight. You've really done justice to your submission. Let's get back to the live studio with Adamson. You heard Chief Robert Clark there. He is saying that pleading forms the basis for acquitting or otherwise a client or an appellant. Speak to us about your general overview of how the proceedings went today.
Yeah, except that let me just add that, you know, in terms of pleading, I would say that, as a matter of fact, you don't win cases in court. You win on the table in your office while preparing your pleadings. Now, if you look at what really transpired today, I want us to understand the fact that there are fundamentals in our electoral jurisprudence. One, the concept of substantial compliance. One. Then two, the presumption of irregularity in favor of INEC. You know, sometimes I wonder when people begin to ask, the INEC is supposed to be an umpire. Now, that when the matter is in court, the INEC should fold his arm and be looking. Now, you've forgotten the fact that the petition that is in the tribunal is against what INEC has done. So INEC has a responsibility to defend the election it has conducted. And that's what we have seen today. INEC has demonstrated that the fact that, look, we conducted the election in accordance to the law. And to that extent, you cannot fault it. Then, the entire judgment of today is based on law. You see, and the fact must be stated today here that the judges are Nigerians. They are not imported from anywhere. Right. So nobody can intimidate them. They are part of us. They are brothers, they are sisters, they are mothers, and they are colleagues. So you cannot intimidate them. So embarking on social media to castigate, to harass, to intimidate them will not work. And we have seen it clearly.
What do you look out for when you want to decide that aphorism that justice must not only be done, but must also be seen to be done?
Yes, you know, as a party to the petition, Labour Party is well within its right to criticize or say it does not agree with the judgment. That is within their constitutional right. But for a disinterested observer who have been monitoring from the time the petition was filed to the time evidence was being given, and to when you look at the caliber of lawyers that have represented all the parties, I think justice has been served. When the first part of the statement by Labour Party is, of course, debatable, but the issue of saying what the people desire, that is not the function of the court. The function of the court is to give judgment according to the law and in accordance with the facts presented before them. They may be wrong. That is why you have an appeal process in place. But I think they have done a very good job with the resources at their disposal.
Yeah, I think it was a Chief Justice who described Nigeria's political class as being the most litigious people on earth, literally. And for those who still feel hard done by, what are the options available now?
Well, I think a small step has been taken today by the tribunal justices by fining the parties who have been alleged to have brought frivolous petitions. It's still a very tiny amount of money paid by them, which is not enough to cover the cost of any of the lawyers retained by them anyway. And I think the era of frivolous petitions will gradually come to an end when sanctions are applied, not to distract, not to prevent people from coming to court, but to ensure that matters that comes to court are ones that are genuine.